as Ford's Galaxy is not just a new car, but a new kind of car, we thought it would be a great idea to make a short video explaining what all the differences are between this and a conventional vehicle. And we're going to start by looking at the Galaxy Aspen, which of course has many features which are common to all the Galaxies across the range. And later on in this program we'll take a closer look at the differences with the Galaxy GLX and the Galaxy Gear. So let's begin with the serious bits, safety and security. Now, your Galaxy doesn't just have aerodynamic good looks. That classy styling conceals a passive safety system in its own right, including special strengthening and crumple zones, and side and front impact protection, which meets or exceeds all applicable legal requirements. It's all very reassuring. Equally reassuring is the airbag, of course, seen here deploying in slow motion in tests which we ran on a left-hand drive vehicle. Now, the actual speed at which an airbag deploys in real life is almost inconceivably fast. It is literally less than the blink of an eye. And no, of course, it won't go off if you just have a minor parking bang. Now, to know whether it's working properly, turn the ignition on, as you would do anyway when you're starting up. All the warning lights come on, and included in those is a little airbag light, which goes off again after a couple of seconds. If it doesn't go off, that indicates that there's a malfunction, and you should consult your dealer right away. Further important note on airbags: if you have opted for the optional front passenger airbag, this vehicle happens to be fitted with it, you must not fit one of those rearwards facing child seats here at the front for obvious safety reasons. Staying with safety, there is a seat belt for every seat in the vehicle, of course, and in the first and second rows the outer belts are height adjustable. And the front seats have what are called anti-submarine ramps inside. Now, you can't see these are part of the seat structure, but the design helps reduce the possibility of you slipping under the seat belt in the event of a collision. Now, people argue, and I think with some justification, that a comfortable driver is likely to be a safer driver, and there are lots of ways in which you can make the driving position of Galaxy very comfortable indeed. For a start, all models have driver's seat height adjust. There's a lever here inboard. You can set the seat to your precise requirements just like that. All seats have head restraints. They're all height adjustable, and the driver and front passenger ones are tilt adjustable as well, so that you get the precise position that's right for you. In fact, that will be very good for somebody particularly tall. And finally, of course, there's steering column adjustment. Very easy to do. The lever is here under the column. You just push it forwards, and then you can adjust the steering column both for rake and for reach until you get it exactly where you want it. Another safety note: I said earlier that airbags, of course, don't go off if you have a minor parking bang. But on DOHC petrol engine Galaxies, there is a safety device which sometimes can be triggered by a small collision like that. It's unlikely, but it can happen. These vehicles are fitted with something called an inertia fuel cutoff switch, something which obviously you want to be as sensitive as possible. Now, if it goes off, of course, the engine won't start. So, first of all, check for signs of spilt fuel or a smell of fuel to make sure that it hasn't gone off, as it were, on purpose, and then undertake the following procedure. Slide the front passenger seat forward, lift the lid of that useful storage space that's underneath, and you'll see the switch. You know it's gone off if the red button is out. Just push it back in again, and away you go. Couldn't be simpler. Now on to the mirrors. The mirrors are adjustable from here, and they are fitted with convex glass for a nice wide field of view. So be aware that objects seen in the mirror will appear slightly smaller and a little further away than they actually are in real life. Now, all the window and locking mechanisms in the doors are operated by cables rather than rods. The idea being that they remain operative even if the door itself is deformed due to a collision. Also, cable operation makes things much more difficult for the thief. Mind you, as far as I can see, it would be pretty difficult to steal a Galaxy anyway. Even if you did smash your way in, you'd still have to get past the steering column lock. Well, you're probably saying, don't all cars have a steering column lock? Well, they might, but not all like Galaxies. You see, if the thief gets in and tries to wrench the wheel round very hard in an attempt to break the lock, what will happen is that a special clutch inside the system will engage, disconnecting the steering wheel from the steering mechanism itself. So the wheel will just go round and round, making things pretty pointless. Even if you got to that stage, you still wouldn't be able to start the car. That's because all Galaxies are fitted with Ford's incredibly clever safeguard system. And the key to safeguard success literally lies in the key. for a start, it's impossible not to arm the system. As soon as you take the key out, the system is armed, put it back, and away you go again. What happens inside this key is that there is a tiny transponder which can be programmed with one of up to 50 billion independent and discrete electronic security codes. Only if the code in the key matches the one in the system's memory will it be possible to start the car. Otherwise, the engine is completely immobilized. Now, if you use the key to lock the door, you're not just locking the door. One turn and you have both centrally and double locked it. Some people get confused about double locking and say, well, what's the difference anyway? I can explain it like this. If I were to break this window, having double locked the car, and lean in, I still can't open the door. It's a great theft deterrent. What's more, turning the key in this way will also set the volume sensing alarm if your car is fitted with one. And when you've locked the doors, you've also at the same time locked the fuel filler cap back here. And of course, there are rear door child locks. There's the little switch in the trailing edge of the door, right there. Well, so far we've talked about surviving accidents and resisting theft. On the face of things, fairly depressing topics. But isn't it nice to know that the manufacturer has taken those areas as seriously as he has? Of course, most people are going to order their Galaxy because of its amazing versatility. And nowhere is this more evident than in its seating. What can the seats do? As far as I can see, just about anything you like. For instance, on second and third row seats, little lever here, lift it up, seat back down, a tabletop, complete with cup holders. You can tilt the seats forward. Two methods of doing this. There's a fabric strap behind the seat on the floor so that you can get to them from behind, or from the side, a lever here, just lift it, and away you go. Naturally, you can leave the seats like this for extra temporary capacity, still being able to use the seat itself later on in the journey when you've got rid of the luggage, or you can take the seat out. Removing the seat is easy. Two metal bars down here, just squeeze them together like so to disengage the locking mechanism, and out they come. And yes, you can put them in backwards. Not to travel with, of course, but it's nice for picnics. Putting them back, repeat the process, and there you are, easily back to square one. The only thing, in fact, which you have to remember about these seats is a simple one. If you take more than one out, do put them back the right way round, because the seats are handed to take the seat belts, so you need the belt buckles on the inside. But what really impresses me about them is the range of movement within each seat. That very same little lever that you use to make the tabletop also reclines the seat back, right the way back to there. Very handy if you fancy a doze. And each seat, even the ones in the third row, can be slid fore and aft to adjust legroom. Very simple, usual procedure, lever just underneath the seat. There's tons of stowage aboard a Galaxy. Map pockets in the front seat backs. There's a really large door bin in each of the side doors, and there's even more stowage in the rear. If the name of the game is versatility, you won't find anything much more versatile than this. This vehicle obviously is going to be used by a lot of people, sometimes with all the seats out, sometimes with just some of them out, to carry goods of all descriptions. Nothing more annoying than when the seat belt gets in the way of the loading. With Galaxy, not a problem. The third row seat belt is detachable. There's a big robust clip at the bottom here. There it is. And you can just park the seat belt up there. All very convenient. There's a big stowage bin here on the top of the rear wheel arch. And in here, that's right, this is where the jack and the wheel brace live. So, that's where they are. The spare wheel you get to by lifting up this flap in the carpet, lifting the rubber bung, and using the wheel brace on that nut there to lower the spare wheel, which lives under the rear floor pan. Two big advantages with that, of course. Very difficult for anyone to steal the spare wheel, and you can lower the wheel without having to take all the luggage out of the back. Don't forget the pull down on the back of the tailgate here. Means you can pull the tailgate down without getting your hands dirty if you haven't put your Galaxy through the car wash. And finally, in the rear compartment, on the side there, two 12-volt auxiliary power sockets. Absolutely indispensable for those who, for instance, want to pump up a rubber dinghy, or maybe can't bear to be parted from their portable television set to watch the sport on a Saturday afternoon while they're out fishing. But the features I like the best are those clever cup and can holders either side of the front centre console, carefully designed of course to take the international size soft drink can. Well, I'm not going to go through all the instruments and controls, otherwise we really will be here all night, but here are a few tips. The heater has a recirculate function. Very handy if you're stuck in traffic and there's a big truck in front of you pushing out nasty fumes. You don't want them inside the vehicle. Recirculate, as its name implies, merely recirculates the air that's already inside. You turn it on like this, you just press the blower switch in and the little yellow light comes up in the middle to tell you that it's working. If you have the auxiliary rear heater fitted, and of course that's standard on 7-seat Galaxy Aspens, the on-off switch for it is here on the dashboard. But the actual heater controls are up there in the headlining just above the near side rear passenger door. Blower on the left, temperature control on the right. Another handy feature you might not have come across before is headlamp levelling. There's a control for this down here on the right hand side, and I can't actually show you it working because if you go outside and look, the headlamp doesn't move. It's the reflector inside that does the movement. There is in fact a chart showing you where to set it depending on what load you've got on, and that's in the handbook too. Talking about the handbook, that'll give you the service intervals. They vary according to what engine you have, but the engines themselves are very user-friendly. Lift the bonnet and you discover that absolutely everything that you might ever need to check is clearly marked in yellow. Well, that's a very brief review of some of the key features of the new Galaxy. But what about accessories? Well, if I tell you that at this precise moment there are no fewer than 84 accessories produced dedicated to this car, you'll see why we haven't got time to look at them all. But let's just have a look at one or two to whet your appetite. You could have, for instance, a choice of eye-catching alloy wheels. There are load liners, either soft or hard. Naturally, of course, there's a fitted dog guard. There's a cool box which slots into any of the seat brackets in the floor. There are luxury items like leather-covered steering wheel or gear knob. There's an ingenious bicycle rack which enables up to 2 bikes to be carried inside the vehicle. And there's a lockable steel compartment which bolts under the driver's seat. And don't forget what comes for free, the Ford warranty and the Ford commitment, of course, adding peace of mind to something I know you're going to enjoy for years to come, your new Galaxy Aspen. Now the GLX and my selection from some of its many features. Now on the GLX, the driver too has his own vanity mirror, just like the passenger. There's a power sunroof and power door mirrors. The controls for these are on the driver's armrest. If you've chosen an automatic, you won't be able to drive it anywhere. At least you won't until you put your foot on the foot brake. You cannot select doors are closed, a very important safety measure. There are front seat armrests which fold up and down, and you can adjust them by turning the knurled nut underneath. On the instrument and control front, there's an ingenious intermittent wipe device which you can set yourself. In other words, you can choose your own intermittent wipe interval. Here's how it works. You just turn the system on, then turn it off and wait for the required interval, let's say 3 or 4 seconds. Then switch it on again. It will then remember the interval you've set and you can reprogram it as often as required. The GLX also has those rather nice aircraft-style folding tables built into the backs of the front seats. There's no special magic required to know how to use them. You just lift them up. They're on gas struts. And of course it has the feature whereby the 2 front seats can be swiveled through 180 degrees. As you can see, it's very easy to do. It goes without saying, of course, that you must never drive the car with the front passenger seat in that position. Oh, and by the way, you can't move them when the car is moving. And to the Galaxy Gear, which has all the features we've already seen, plus 1 or 2 of its own, including some rather nice alloy wheels. It also has driver's seat lumbar adjust. That's the little knurled knob on the side of the seat. It has rear power windows and rear power quarter windows and a rear child lockout switch. It doesn't lock children out of the rear. It stops the children in the rear from messing about with the windows and sending them up and down, which I think is a very good thing. If you have opted for the self-regulating air conditioning, then I'm going to chicken out and say, please read the handbook. It deserves further study. It's a very, very sophisticated climate controller. One tip though, it is designed to be run on all the time. The Galaxy Gear, of course, has what's called global closing and global opening. The idea being that either using the remote or the key, you can close up all the windows and the sunroof when locking the car, or open all the windows when unlocking it. So it's absolutely marvellous if you're coming back to the car and it's been standing in the sun for a long time. As I said right at the beginning, we've really only scratched the surface of the Galaxy story here. All the details are in the handbook. I know you're going to enjoy the car. Believe me, it really is a new world.